enforcement. We've got lots of examples. Is there more work to do? There's always going to be more work to do.
The logging company with rights to cut Avatar Grove are now indicating they won't. Environmental groups say public pressure is to thank, but add millions of other hectares of ancient growth forests in BC also need saving. Imtiaz Taib, Al Jazeera, Vancouver Island, British Columbia.
And finally, it's not particularly pleasant work, but for some Indonesians on the island of Java, catching geckos has turned into a lucrative business. Step Varson went out with the night hunters.
A watchful eye, hunters ready for action. Armed with sticks and hooks, they spot their prey. A sudden attack. The animal doesn't stand a chance. Their prey is not a bear or a pig, but a small lizard. Still, it's dangerous work.
I have been bitten before, and because I tried to pull the gecko from my arm, it started to bite harder, and I got a nasty flesh wound. I cured my wound with tree wax.
Hunters can spot the small animals in the dark because their headlights make their eyes turn red. As soon as night falls, geckos come down from the trees looking for food. That's when the hunters venture out. To be a gecko hunter, you need very sharp eyes, a lot of patience, but also a lot of courage, because even in the middle of the night, they look for geckos at a graveyard. But this job is much better than they ever had before. The captured geckos are kept in a cage before they are killed one by one. Those who have laid eggs can stay alive a little longer. Their remains are put on a stick to dry. Then, by thousands, they are put in boxes to be shipped to Hong Kong and Taiwan. This one small operation provides an income to more than 50 people.
People in Taiwan use medicines from geckos against the cold. In the cold season, they buy a lot. They also use it against asthma and erection problems.
The demand for traditional medicine in China and Taiwan has brought some wealth to impoverished villages in East Java. But the gecko business has a downside. Because of the high demand, fewer lizards can be found in the forest. Farmers are now starting to breed geckos to stay in business. Step Varson, Al Jazeera, Probolinggo, East Java.
Just ahead, the latest developments out of Libya. The spoils of war. Rebels show off what they say is a plane belonging to forces backing Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. We're back in just a moment.
We do accept that there was very bad mistakes made in our banking area.
Behind the headlines,
most South Koreans are not interested in reunification.
Is the inside story at this time on Al Jazeera.
Hello again, this is Al Jazeera in Doha. I'm Adrian Finnegan. The top stories this hour. Colonel Gaddafi's forces have launched a counterattack against rebels in towns east of his stronghold, Sirte. Airstrikes and ground battles are also being reported in Bin Jawad, Ras Lanuf and Misrata. Protests are continuing in the island kingdom of Bahrain. A large crowd has gathered outside the Prime Minister's office and at the Pearl roundabout in Manama. And in Yemen, at least 47 pro-democracy protesters have been wounded in clashes with government loyalists. The fighting happened in Ib city, which is south of the capital, Sana'a. So rebels are battling on several fronts right now across Libya's coastline as Colonel Gaddafi's forces launch a strong counterattack. Here's the latest that we're hearing. The government claims that it's taken on protesters in Tobruk. Although sources tell Al Jazeera that the rebels are still in control there. In Benghazi, the seat of the uprising, the rebels say that they are in control, despite government claims to the opposite. And in the oil-producing town of Ras Lanuf, Al Jazeera sources say that there have been airstrikes. There's been fighting in Bin Jawad, which the opposition captured briefly before being pushed back. In Misrata, the rebels say that they're under fire from government forces, but have not lost control of the city. AlJazeera has seen fighting, according to the rebels, but the government says that it's peaceful there. And in the capital, Tripoli, heavy machine gun fire was reported early on Sunday morning. The government says, though, that that was in celebration. Al Jazeera's Lawrence Lee reports now on the conflicting information that we're getting coming from the government and from the rebels in Libya.
Everything in this conflict depends on who you believe. And in Tripoli, they really believe there's a lot to celebrate. According to the authorities, all these celebrations are spontaneous expressions of popular joy that their forces have taken back control of the towns of Zawiya and Misrata from the rebels, or thugs as they're described on Libyan state TV.
It's the time of victories in Libya, and as you see, that's today, last night and this morning, it's time of victory of the people of Libya. These people you see is the people, is true people of Libya. There is nobody in this state or in this city against Gaddafi.
Every assertion, every claim is subject to contradiction. Rebel forces in Zawiya still say they're in control, despite ferocious fighting over several days. Yet even reporting that runs the risk of infuriating the Libyan authorities, which provided the Associated Press with these aerial images of the main square in the town. Unfortunately, there was no explanation of the arrows, nor any analysis of what these pictures demonstrate. Libyan state TV is limiting what it shows entirely to places under the control of pro-Gaddafi forces, with not a single frame of video from the east of the country. Which means there's no reason why people in Tripoli should know that the new front line of the fighting has moved closer to Gaddafi's hometown of Sirte. These pictures show a small unit of rebels having reached the little town of Ben Jawad, where they came under fire from the air. Still, Libyan TV offered opinions from Sirte that life is reassuringly normal.
I'm a worker, I'm going home, everything's fine here. I'm here to buy some vegetables, our city is safe. Don't believe Al Jazeera or Al Arabiya.
For me, it's just normal. Nothing is going on.
Thanks God, everything is fine. Supplies on the shelves as usual, no problems.
Although people in Tripoli are unable to see what's happening in other parts of the country, it's equally clear rebel forces in places like Ras Lanuf are aware of the information gap. The problem is that they can speak to the rest of the world, just not people in the capital.
In a statement to the Libyan people, the revolutionary forces confirm that they are still in control of the areas that have been liberated, and what has been broadcast on the channels is incorrect and is not true on the ground. And you journalists have confirmed yourselves that we are in full control of the areas we have liberated.
So the propaganda mirrors the fighting. Libya is essentially